Hello, everyone. I must welcome you all to our webinar series, Future You, Set Your Career Compass Right with Experts Insight. And I'm Kalyani Majumdar, your host for today's webinar. So today our topic is careers in business analytics. In this webinar, you'll find out about what are the roles and responsibilities of a business analyst, what are the job roles that a candidate specializing in business analytics can go for, data analytics versus business analytics, what's the difference, core skills required to excel in this field, how to build your profile to stand out from the rest, and more. So today for this session, our speaker is Puneet Vashisht. He's a data scientist with WorldQuant LLC. He's a PGDBA alumnus, which is offered jointly by IIM Calcutta, IIT Kharagpur, and ISI Kolkata. So Puneet has 7+ years of work experience in the field of data science in fintech and consumer loyalty industry with some of the top firms such as Goldman Sachs, MasterCard, Gartner, and now with WorldQuant. So welcome Puneet Vashisht, and thank you so much for being here today for this webinar.
Thank you, Galyani. Thank you for the introduction.
Great, thanks. So let's start with your career trajectory. So if you could just take us through how exactly you were already a data scientist before pursuing a PGDBA. So what was the trigger for you to pursue PGDBA? And then how exactly it all changed for you? So you can start.
Sure. So right after my college, I joined a startup and I spent there for 3 years into data science domain. There I was leading the data science team, building the team. And that's where I learned all about the importance of the data science and how it connects to the broader business objectives, right? So with that knowledge, I wanted to get into some more knowledge into core data science field. And that's why I pursued this PGDBA course. That way, it was just a new course, and but the curriculum was superb, and it's one of the course in India where 3 institutes are collaborating, and it's a mix of business plus statistics plus technology. So that's where I loved this course framework, and I joined. I tried this course, and I joined this course full-time course of 2 years.
Okay, so now how about you tell us how as a data scientist before pursuing a PGDBA and after a PGDBA, how did it change your role as a data scientist?
So before pursuing PGDBA, it was all I had to search for a lot of I would say algorithms or a lot of knowledge online, and then apply that knowledge into my field. And there was not much academic background that I was having. So that is the core difference, I would say. But after joining PGDBA, I could get more into the business sense, and I could learn more about different kind of domains or domains there are, and learn more about the business side of the things. Apart from that, the statistics part at ISI, that's a fantastic course curriculum that we have in PGDBA. And that statistics knowledge, in-depth knowledge of statistics combined with business, that's the made a difference. And now it's the role is almost similar, but it's more evolved in terms of I am involved in taking the critical business decisions, and it's not just data analyzing, and it's more than that, and driving the business through end to end. So that would, I would say, the difference comes into.
Okay, okay. So you work with Goldman Sachs and now with WorldQuant. So can you, as a data scientist, so how different is the work in these two firms? What exactly are the roles and responsibilities? You can just tell us briefly about both. As in, are these very different from,
Sure.
as in your roles and responsibilities? Yeah.
Sure. So right after my PGDB, I had a knack into finance industry, so fintech plus finance industry. So I joined Goldman Sachs, and there I was working into the consumer division of Goldman Sachs. Consumer division basically deals with credit cards and other consumer related like all the finances related to consumers. So they recently started this whole consumer division, which is internally called Marcus within Goldman, and I was part of that. And with that, in that, my roles and responsibilities would be particularly to design or implement algorithms which would trigger a larger uh, business decisions. For example, I was involved into a fraud or capturing the fraud, right? So I would look at the fraudulent transactions, how to track those fraudulent transactions, and how to stop those transactions at the time of while the customers are transacting. So those are key responsibilities and roles that I had that need to cut down the fraud from the overall business objective. Uh, right now, I recently joined WorldQuant, where my role is again they are launching a new product. So it's more into a business kind of role, where strategy kind of role driven from data,
Okay.
and there I'm driving key business decisions based on the data, that which all products or like product features to be prioritized, and when do we need those product features, and which all geographies to target for that product. So these are like responsibilities are slightly different, but the core work is with data. So that's a hardcore data science.
Okay. 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 Let's talk about what's the difference between, is there any difference between business analytics and data analytics? And also, is business analytics the bigger umbrella under which data science comes in? So you can take it in parts. First, of course, tell us the precise difference between business analytics and data analytics.
Um, okay, so I would say the difference between business analytics and data analytics is more from driven from how close to the business you are versus the how close to the data you are. So analysts are more close to the data side, and business analysts are more close to the business side. In terms of, I would say, the daily work or roles and responsibility, business analytics is mostly about driving the business decisions. And given that you are having the data, then you drive the business decisions based on that data. Or they frequently use a tool, probably let's say business intelligence tool, which would give you all the consolidated information you need to make or take the specific decision. Or data analytics, on the other hand, is what drives that tool or the data behind that business analytics decision. So they are more close to the data part, and they would be pulling up all the data. They would be consolidating all the data, cleaning all the data, and then presenting that data to the business analyst for the further analytics.
Okay.
And the difference would come into the kind of I would say recommendations they do, right? So the business analytics would work on data and give recommendations to the business, and data analytics would work with the data, but they are not into that recommendations part.
Okay. Yeah, that bit about data science. So a lot of people kind of use business analytics and data science as and sometimes, they even interchange one with the other. So is business analytics the bigger umbrella under which data science comes in, or is data science the bigger umbrella?
I would say these are like two Venn diagrams in terms of like
Okay.
both intersects at one point,
Okay.
but sometimes there are differences between the two as well, right? So the business analytics, as I mentioned, they are more close to the business, and then they would might work into the right now they might work into the data part as well with the automated tool. Data science is a whole new, I would say, domain where people would mostly work on the data part, and they would be mostly working on the prescriptive or predictive parts of the data.
Okay.
So if I divide the terms into business analytics into three parts, one is descriptive, where I'm just giving the describing the data, right? And that's where data analyst would come into picture. And then the second part is predictive, where I'm predicting the trends. So what would happen next, right? And then the next part is prescriptive. Okay, we know that what happened and what would happen next. Now what to do, right? So data scientists are more into the predictive and prescriptive part. They would they would come up with the data insights look at the trends of the data, and then they would come up with hypothesis. So it's a whole kind of scientist. So that's where the scientist term would come into picture, where they would generate some hypothesis, test that if that is true or not, and then work towards that.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell us? Tell us right from the entry level to senior level in one firm in business analytics? How does it work? How does one go up?
Okay. So typically, it depends on the firm as well, different firms. But in general, I would say that you join as a business analyst, and then you work towards the senior business analyst positions, and then you work towards more the kind of domain you are into or the kind of function you are into. You become a function expert or domain expert, and then you would be driving all the business decisions related to that function or that division, right? So let's say you start with a business analyst, next would be senior business analyst, next would be like functional I would say, let's say if I am into marketing, I'm driving all the marketing use cases there, and then my projection would be in that domain. If I'm into fintech, then business analyst, senior business analyst, maybe product manager, right? So and then I can go into that kind of trajectory. So it really depends on the kind of role you are into and the kind of domain you want to go into.
Yeah. So, but can a business analyst become, say, a CXO or a CEO, something like that
Yes.
in a company?
Yes, I would say that, because these are the core skills, and then you get domain knowledge, then you grow into that domain altogether. So that trajectory would finally come into CXO kind of roles. The data science part, data science roles are grown into a different vertical altogether, and they would grow into chief data officers or something.
Okay. Okay. So, as I understand that a business analyst is usually bringing in understanding data, studying data, and also bringing in business solutions, right?
Yes.
So if they are the ones who have now they can study the algorithms better than a normal MBA, maybe. And they are also bringing in, and since everything is data now, so like everything is in data, so business solutions are being brought by business analysts. So do you think in the next, say, 5 or 10 years, management consultant might be replaced by a business analyst, especially someone like, who has probably done a degree from PGDBA, from Calcutta? What do you think?
Okay. I would say that
it's controversial, but yeah, but it's something that maybe somebody who has already cleared, maybe has got calls from IM A, B, C for MBA, and then that same person has also taken PGDBA and has also got to. So maybe for those people it might help them to take the right decision of where to spend those 2 years. So yeah.
Got it. So taking on the questions on like whether how I would take a step back and let you know like what is exactly that we do in PGDBA and how is it different from MBA altogether. PGDBA course is specifically designed where people are more tech oriented as well, right? It's not that only business, because they have statistics. They would go into that statistics course in ISI Kolkata, and then IIT Kharagpur also they would do some kind of core technical work, right? So that course is specifically for those kind of people who want to learn from the business as well, and be in touch with the technical part as well. On the other hand, MBA is a broader, I think, group where they are not that involved into the tech part, and they would not deal with mostly on the data part. They would be driving the decisions based on some frameworks, right, or the analytics that they do, but they would not dig deep into the tech part. So that is the I would say the difference, and there is obviously an overlap between the two, so that is there. Now, the consultant jobs being replaced by the business analyst, I don't foresee that, because the business analyst, like they have that mindset that they would be working more closely with the data and then driving the decision.
Okay.
Consultants, on the other hand, would require that knowledge from the data part, obviously, but then they have their own structure or own frameworks to tackle the problem,
Okay.
right? And that's where I think industry is also going nowadays. If you see trend in the industry, all the consulting industries would create a new division within
Yes.
their umbrella, and they would create that division and then hire people into business analyst or data science role into that, so that they can support the consultants.
Mhm.
And then there is obviously an overlap between the two. I would not say that these are mutually exclusive.
Okay. Yeah. Like McKinsey has Knowledge Center, which is all
Yes,
about the business analytics and all that.
yes,
Okay.
small.
So, okay. Now, let's take a few questions and then, we'll get back to our questions of talking about skills and all. What is the, okay, you've already spoken about it. What is the career trajectory for a business analyst? So can you just take, not from an entry level to that, maybe, you can also answer where should one begin? If one already knows that, okay, I mean, how do I know that I'm right for business? And business analytics.
Mhm.
So where should one begin?
So I would say that one should begin like where they want to be into, whether close to the business, or they want the mathematics or the tech part also. They want that part also in their life, right? So accordingly, the decision would be very easy, that whether they want to pure MBA kind of role or pure PGDBA kind of role.
But is it then, uh, can someone from, apart from engineering background, can the other students also think of trying for business analytics? Because obviously from engineering, you're already having statistics and math and everything. So how do you think, I mean, where will they, how will they learn all that in those 2 years? Is it a good choice for them to be in business analytics?
Yes, I would say that obviously that, like, we always welcome the diversity, right? And that's a core part. And there are people coming into course who don't have the engineering background, right? And but they are like they want to learn that part. It's not that they just want to learn the business part; they want to learn the technical part as well. And then the all the resources are provided accordingly to them. And the kind of I think. The exam pattern of the PGDBA is structured, they would obviously test on those skills, that if you have interest, whether you are able to do all those mathematics or most quant heavy questions or not. And then those are automatically filtered out. But I would say that if you have interest and you are from a different background, you can definitely go for a PGDBA course. But it's more, you should be comfortable with the tech and the mathematics part.
Yeah. The thing is, like, okay, if someone is from commerce or from arts background in
Mm.
their graduation, or for that matter, even in the school, and PGDBA, the paper itself has got a lot of 10 plus 2 mathematics. So,
Yes.
how do they prepare? I mean, is this, do you think, honestly speaking, if you are looking at it, PGDBA is meant more, or rather, business analytics is meant more for people with engineering background?
I would not say that. I'm
How do they
like big
prepare
fan of.
all that? As in, if somebody is not having 10 plus 2 science, then they don't have math. Uh,
Yeah,
and then PGDBA paper itself has got a large chunk of it.
exactly.
Yeah. So,
Exactly. Like I know that it's very difficult, but then if the somebody is interested, they can obviously learn from the resources, and then they can do well into that exam.
okay.
There are other parts as well, verbal ability and then logical reasonings, right? I know that mathematics part has more weightage, but still, if they are really interested, they would come into. And specifically from the commerce background or economics background, people come and then they bring whole new perspective to the table, right? So
Okay, yes, yeah, okay, okay. What is the scope of anti-money laundering products? I am currently working on AML product and planning to switch. Should I stay or switch to core banking domain?
Okay. I would say that anti-money laundering is a great field to be in if you are into, because that's a close-knit analytics that we have within banking domain, because you'll be working with a lot of confidential data sets there, and there is a lot of research going on how to identify anti-money laundering practices from the this big pool of data, and there are graph algorithms into that. There's a lot of scope into learning into that. And core banking division there, it's a more generic field, right? So it depends. If you are into anti-money laundering, I would say that that might be helpful in the future, because there is a lot of scope into that. And core banking job, obviously, if you are not happy into that current role, then you can switch to the core banking job.
Okay, okay. Um, okay, can one become a product manager or a consultant after doing a PGDBA?
Yes, definitely right. So a lot of I think my colleagues and a lot of my juniors have switched to these kind of roles, product managers and the consultants
Okay.
or data science consultants specifically. So that is like the happy path for the PGDBA.
Okay, okay. Uh, which online courses? Yeah, so let's talk about some certifications and all that. So, okay, one is, where should one begin? I mean, if one is already pretty much sure that yes, they love to work with numbers, they love to work with data, and they're probably preparing. Obviously, they're preparing for CAT, and then eventually, they'll also take PGDBA. So now for them to add something more on their, not just on their profile, but also to figure out, like, to get a taste of what business analytics is all about before getting into one of these courses. What do you think one should be going for? Are there any certifications that one can probably do, and what are those? If you could just tell us a little bit.
Yes, so there are a lot of certifications available right now, because the data science field itself has boomed a lot. It's on exponential growth trajectory for
Yeah.
last few years,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of certifications coming up from different institutes. And I would suggest that start from the basics. So build the basics first, right? So if you are already interested into the numbers, build the statistics part, and try to get into one kind of data, right? So there are a lot of open source data sets available along with the solution. So Kaggle is one of the platform that people regularly interact with,
Okay.
and you can learn from there, like what exactly the data scientists do, and you can also have practical experience. There are people posting already available codes or getting started codes. Then that is the first step you can get into, that you can take a flavor of what the day-to-day job yours would be looking like after PGDBA.
Okay. So, okay. I've heard that hedge funds employ quantitative trading and mathematical models, which fail to predict black swan events. What other skills financial analysts in hedge funds or investment banks need to develop apart from solely relying on mathematical models? Very technical question.
Okay, so it's a I think related to the hedge fund. So
Yes. Yeah.
hedge funds and like the data science capability. So I would say that one thing is hedge funds, or the even though like all the quant funds, they would not reveal their strategies. Even if they are implementing their data science strategies, they would not reveal, because that's the bread and butter, right? So there are successful use cases as well. There are failure use cases as well into that. They are already digging into the mathematical models around that.
Mm.
But data science is something that all the probably I would say the all the hedge funds are now trying to rely on how to get most signals out of the data, or most juice out of the data to predict the events. So obviously they are trying to build that. and there are successful stories as well.
Okay, okay. Uh, how much tech-based knowledge would you say a candidate is required to have before getting into or to be successfully accepted into the PGDBA course? Also, what all kind of questions were being asked when, yeah, after
Okay,
the
so
test and all that? Yeah.
Uh, so PGD, I'll take like the end-to-end process of the PGDBA, right? So the PGDBA online test right now, they conduct this online test, which is comprising of three modules. One is verbal abilities, second is logical reasoning, and third is the quant.
Yeah.
Quant is a little bit on the class 10 plus 12 mathematics, and it's a little bit heavy where they would be asking a lot more questions on linear algebra, probability, functions, calculus. Once you do that, then the interview is mostly aligned with that only, like whether you are comfortable with the probability or linear algebra. And then there are panelists from the business perspective also. They would judge you on your communication skills and other skills. So it's just like a regular MBA interview, but a little bit more focused on the I would say quant or mathematics.
Okay, okay. Um, which coding languages are preferred in business analytics?
Right now, I would say that Python is the most preferred language within the data science or business analytics community. But obviously, we don't go there to learn a coding, right? So PGDBA is a more broader spectrum. So we learn the basics of the business analytics there, and the coding is just a means to do all the work. So we would be comfortable with R, Python, anything, any tool, open source tool, SPSS, anything can work as long as the basics are clear and the what you want as a results you're getting from that tool.
Right. Okay. Okay. Uh, what is the ratio of business and tech course in PGDBA? So what's the ratio like? More tech?
Uh, I would say, yeah, probably it would be 40-60% kind of split. So all the courses in IIM plus all a few courses in IIT Kharagpur,
Hmm.
which are electives,
Yeah.
those would be termed into a business, and then all the courses in ISI Kolkata and a few courses in IIT Kharagpur
Hmm.
are mostly focused into tech.
Okay. Okay. Is the job role of a business analytics monotonous?
No, definitely not, because we are daily working on a different problem, right? And how to improve the efficiency of the business, how to do what kind of business we have. So that's definitely not monotonous, because daily we are getting a different trends, and trends would change after 3 or 6 months, or as the consumer base grows. So definitely not monotonous.
So yeah, does marks of 12th or 10th affect call from colleges for PGDBA?
Class 10th and 12th, yeah, there is certain weightage to the that, but I believe it's not that much as compared to the regular IM calls.
Yeah.
This is more weightage is given to the exam plus the interview.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about what are the skill sets that are required. You say can you tell us three uh, hard skills and three soft skills that are required if you would like to excel in business analysis?
Mhm.
Mm.
uh, I would say that the skill sets of business analyst would be, one is like comfortable with the numbers, working with the numbers, and
Hard skills.
have, yes, hard skills in terms of hard skills. Uh, Working comfortable with the coding. So that's most second part, because you need to be comfortable with the coding part. Then on the like extra, I would say the third skill would be like delving into the data and getting insights out of that data. So problem solving skills, those should be there from the business analyst we expect. On the softer skills, the next part comes into like how do you communicate these results? How do you communicate these results to your CIO or CXOs, right? And how do you take decisions on top of it? So you definitely need negotiation skills there. How do you negotiate that whatever work you have done is explains every scenario. You need communication skills, like how do you communicate the results to the people. Then you would need excellent team like skills as well, so because you would be working obviously with a lot many teams from the tech perspective as well as from the data perspective. So you need excellent team building or team skills as well, so that you can get the work done from them.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, so now let's talk about what exactly is there anything that they can do now to build profile? As in our audience, they are mostly taking CAT this year and taking CAT probably next year, so 2022 and 2023. So, and obviously, a lot of them will be also taking PGDBA. So, is there anything that they can do as in like for profile building? How do they build their profile? What if like you had a lot of talking points during your interview because you were already working as a data scientist,
Yes.
so obviously your questions, the questions that were asked were like that, right, revolving around that. But what about somebody who's a fresher and who has taken PGDBA and has cleared and has an interview? What are the talking points? What all they can do right now to build in their profile?
So I would say that they can obviously check out the kind of data that they are working into. They can take one problem and try to solve that problem end to end. And these can be any problems they want to tackle. Last I think interacting with some of the folks who are giving interviews this year, right? And one of the candidate was interested into this domain, and they implemented the whole analytics into their own personal lives, be it managing the finance, be it taking care like whether they want to go for a term plan or not, that whether that is successful or not, right? So they would take the data on their own and they would analyze that what is the average life expectancy and how whether that makes sense or not. For the personal finances also, they would say that okay, what is the cash flows they would be coming into, and then they would be analyzing the whole set of perspectives. So I would say that take a real life example, even from you, if you are working somewhere, you can take the data from your own industry and then try to analyze that. If you are fresher, then obviously from your own department or on your own field, in whichever field you have worked on, take a smaller set in whichever the problem you are interested into. There are tons of data available for each of the fields on online. Just take the data and try to get insights of the data, how that data looks like, what are the insights that you can draw from that. So that would be building exercise that they can do, which would be very beneficial and have talking points during their interviews.
Okay. Okay. What is a typical day for you as a data scientist? And you can also talk about what's a typical day actually for a business analyst. How
Mhm.
does your day start and it ends? Like, what all you have to do, almost like on a typical day basis. Yeah.
Sure, no worries. So typically the day starts with looking at the business metrics and how the business metrics are performing. If there is any trend which is not in line with what we are expecting, we need to dig deep into that. And if I'm already working on some hypothesis, let's say my hypothesis is that because of this event, this is happening, or the customers are not interacting with your platform because there's some bug in the platform, right? So I need to come up with the data points and come up with all the solutions around that. That is the one part of the analysis. And then interacting with the team, how much they go for, like how much they have done, and interacting with the different teams as well, product teams or the tech teams, given that we might be building on the products. So that's how the typical workflow would look like
Hmm. Hmm.
on a day-to-day basis for a business analyst or a data scientist.
Okay. Okay, there's a Goldman Sachs question. How was your experience at Goldman Sachs? How hard was it to get appointed by them? Were the placements done from the IIM itself?
Uh, no, so I joined Goldman Sachs after like I had already joined another company, Mastercard, in after PGDBA, and this was an off-campus job. It's on the interviews part or the how difficult it is to get into Goldman Sachs. I would say that it's a slightly difficult, but given that you are from the PGDBA background, you are already have that kind of experience into statistics and probabilities and all, you are fit for the job. So it's not, I would not, it won't be that difficult. Apart from that, how the experience, it was a good experience there. You worked on a lot of different problems in the like varied problems, and you are working with a large data because Goldman Sachs has a large data, and then your decision has direct financial impact. So it was a great experience in Goldman Sachs.
Okay. Um, how is the placement of this program as compared to regular MBA degree? You can probably talk about the placement for PGDBA. You don't need to talk about the MBA.
Yes. So PGDBA placements, I think every year these have been very good placements.
I think there's more
So
demand in the market and
yes,
there's less of people from PGDBA because there are only limited seats. I mean,
exactly. So
there are 60 students coming out.
it's
And,
a demand supply mismatch in PGDBA. So there are only 60 seats in
yeah.
PGDBA, and then the demand is much more into the bigger organizations, right? So that's where, like, the placement wise, there's no difficulty given you are already doing good. So a lot top notch firms are coming into the placements, and those are mix of the like pool, Microsoft, Amazon. On the consulting side, PwC would be coming, and banking side, Goldman Sachs, or there are entertainment firms as well, for example, Netflix. So
Okay.
all the firms are coming, Netflix, Hotstar. So all these firms are coming, and depending on your interest or depending on the kind of electives you have taken while you are into the PGDBA course, you would be inclined towards some of the firms.
So, tell me something. In MBA, if somebody is a say a consultant, a management consultant, so they might, as they move from one industry to another, their work, there is a little bit of this change and it's fresh. But what about business analytics? Do you think it after 10 years it might get little stagnant for the person, like are you doing the same thing? Maybe the industry, is it industry agnostic?
Yes, it is industry agnostic because the core work would remain same. The problem
Yeah.
statements might change, right? The how to drive the business, that business logic might change, but the core work is with the data. So you would be extracting insights from the data. So that would remain same. And obviously, there are some domain knowledge coming into picture. For example, if you're working into fintech, understanding the data would require some domain knowledge,
Okay.
or that comes into picture. Apart from that, after 10 years, right, so these roles would diverge into, like, there are typically, I would say, there are three parts of kind of roles that you can get into. One is pure on the research side, where you are doing research, you are reading papers and doing top notch research into data science domain, working with varied data sets. So that is more on a research side. The second part is where you are mostly working as a consultant or data science consultant, but you are working with the data, and that way you are building your profile as in a data consultant and working with varied domains. The third is you get into one domain and build expertise into that domain. For example, a lot of many people would get into fintech and build expertise into that fintech, working with the data part. So these are like typically career progressions you would see diverging into three for the business analyst.
Okay. Please give some tips for students from commerce stream.
Okay. Tips for commerce stream, I would say that probably just focus introspect within yourself if you really want to get into these all numbers and data part. If yes, then start
Commerce,
preparing
yes,
for.
they do work with numbers and they do have statistics on their side. I think
Yes,
the rest of it they need to, like, I think the amount of calculus and all that is probably not there in commerce. So maybe,
yes. So calculus and probability or
yeah, yeah,
linear algebra, that
yeah.
might. But then again, it's the same field for everyone, right? So because typically people come after joining the job, they might forget have already forgotten
Yes,
what they had
yeah.
studied in class plus 12. So
Mhm.
they just need to revise. I won't say that it was really difficult process there.
Okay. How the role of business analytics changes while working in a non-finance company versus a finance company like Goldman Sachs, or is it the same?
So again, it depends on the role is different because the industries are altogether different.
Mm.
Again, you would be working on the data, right? So the data sets might be varied. So, for example, if I compare the entertainment industry with the finance industry, entertainment, you might be working with the image data or the videos data. In the finance industry, it's more about the stock or market data, or if you are into consumer division, you would be working into consumers data, right? So that's the kind of difference that you would get in terms of the methods to apply. Like you already have all the tools, so the tools would remain same that you apply to the different data set, but the knowledge of the data would change or would vary across these two domains.
Okay. How do you think in the next few years, where do you see business analytics? I mean, it is obviously, it has kind of gained momentum in the last few years. So, do you think, there will be a lot of competition because since now in the job arena, because now that so many other top B schools have started teaching business analytics, and this is this also the same trend that anybody who is probably planning to work internationally, is this trend going to stay? What do you think will be happening in the next few years, business analytics?
Yeah, so rightly said, in last few years, the business analytics has taken momentum, right? And there's lot many courses. Every IIMs probably starting their own course into business analytics. Uh, and this trend might continue in future because given that you have so many data and given the value of the data people have got through, right? So in the last few years, many organizations have benefited a lot from this whole data, and then they started collecting more data and data. So this trend might continue. Ultimately, the objective is like every role that you do, you would obviously come up with the data, and you need these data skills there, and that's how the business analyst would grow into in the future into a larger roles, and they would continue to do so.
Okay.
And this trend is not only in India but across geographies. I've seen that this trend coming up where a lot more focus is given to the data, how you drive insights from the data. It's not because you have now concrete uh, source of data that you can take or analyze to get into the final business decision.
Yeah, because in international B schools, the top international B schools in the US, they have now started offering MBA, which is STEM MBA, which is STEM designated MBA. So basically, it is actually engineers, people with statistics and math going up.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they are given more preference. So I believe, engineers are mostly. Do you think, but engineers are the ones, who will be shifting mostly instead of MBA, they might just get into business analytics? You think this
Ah,
might be a trend later on, because since there will be so many B schools which would be offering this course.
So I believe that from the engineer's perspective, there are kinds of people. One who don't want to go into any kind of mathematics or tech. Obviously,
Okay.
they have studied that into,
Huh.
but they
Yeah.
then they are more interested in the business side of the operations or business or those sides of things. The other part is like larger part is there. I would say 70% are there who are more inclined towards the mathematics. They are definitely inclined toward these kind of courses because they are really interested into these and they would be mostly focused into joining these kind of courses. And internationally also a lot many colleges, top universities, Columbia or any other universities coming up with these 1 year specializations for this MBA or like business analytics courses.
Right. Yeah. Uh, uh, okay. Uh, Can you talk a little bit about the interview process that you had at Goldman Sachs for data science?
Okay.
Yeah. If you
So the
remember
Goldman,
questions and
I okay. So I think there are a lot of open resources for Goldman Sachs interviews.
mm,
Typically, they would take around 6 to 7 rounds, mostly discussing about if you are like experienced, you have experience in the data science. They would be focusing on how the what all projects you have done, how you have implemented data science into your projects. Or they would obviously be asking questions on probability, statistics, your problem solving abilities, their coding abilities. So that's a mix of whole rounds of 5, 6 rounds of technical rounds you would have in Goldman Sachs. There are a
okay.
lot of resources available online, so that's there.
How can a person from medical domain get into business analytics? Like if someone has done, say, biotech, BSc in biotech.
Mhm. That's a
Okay.
tough one. I
That's
haven't seen
Well, have
anyone
you
coming.
seen anybody in your batch from medical, from medicine, or from biotech or BSc?
No, I haven't seen or come across anyone who has switched the field from the medical fraternity to the whole new like
Okay.
PGDBA or business analytics. But there are specializations that we do within like PGDBA, which is more inclined for healthcare analytics.
Okay.
But I would say that's very different from the core medical or
Yeah.
biotech kind of
Yeah.
fields.
Yeah. So, can you give some PGDBA interview tips? Interview.
PGDBA interview tips, I would say that okay, prepare heavily for linear algebra and probability because that's definitely gonna be questions from that sort. Apart from that, prepare for current affairs and prepare around your profile because they are more interested into your profile, what you do, what all hobbies you are, and how well you are versed with the current affairs and overall into the data science domain.
Okay. Okay. If someone is a non PGDBA becoming a business analytics, a business analyst, and a PGDBA, what's the difference? I mean, how much time will it take for a non PGDBA to climb up?
Mhm. For a non-PGDBA, I would say that so what happens is like if you are into your job, right, and then you are going through the same amount of time, then it would take some time. You can obviously build your knowledge into that domain or into that company you are working with because you are working close to that data, same data. But in terms of the kind of tools or kind of academic knowledge that you have, that might be limited. With PGDBA, you have exposure to so many of things. For example, I talked about healthcare analytics, then there's HR analytics, then there is cloud computing, right? So there are different kind of domains that you get knowledge, at least basic knowledge for each of these fields, and that knowledge is tremendous or it's worthy, right? So that is would be the difference coming from that part. So non PGDBA might be at the same level after a few years, but within their own organization, within their own domain, the PGDBA person can come and then they can start with varied domains. They can easily switch through the other domains.
Really
So
less time to climb,
yes.
right? Up the ladder. So, what about? I come from a background of pharmacy. What kind of job should I look forward to? Big pharma companies also need data analysts. do they?
Yes, big pharma companies,
Now
UHG.
everybody needs, isn't it? There's
Yes,
like a ton of data to work with, I believe.
exactly.
Yeah. If I have to make a analytics background as a commerce student, should I try to get a job or try to get some certification before I pursue?
I would not say go for certification, but at least build their profile from the online learning. There are a lot many resources online available, so you can go with those kind of resources. Try to learn those, and this the certification might not be required because the resources you readily available, and those are open source. So.
Right. Okay. And now, most important question: what is the remuneration like? You can give a ballpark, say, like.
Okay. So I would say it's again a demand supply gap.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe someone who is beginning, or somebody who is like what kind of like a ballpark number, of course,
mhm.
ranging from this to that.
Okay. So I would say that like typically after PGDBA, the median like stats of the placements are around 25 LPA or 22 LPA or into that range. And once you grow into the real role, the depending on the kind of role into the kind of experience you hold, it would vary a lot from 30 to probably upper of 1 CR or
Right.
something. So that's there. So it really depends on the kind of industry you are into, kind of experience you get
Mm.
into.
And from which college you are, from which schools you're coming
Okay.
from. Yeah, of course, that
Yes,
does matter.
definitely.
Okay, tell me. Okay, before we wrap up, we are about to wrap up now. Can you give say a few suggestions or maybe one suggestion for all the MBA aspirants who are also PGDBA aspirants, the ones who are attending?
Okay. I would say that focus on the few topics from class 10 plus 2. They do not ask a lot. Analyze the exam patterns. I think resources are available online, but you can analyze yourself as well. Specifically into mathematics, what is the percentage of question? You not need not do everything of class 10, 12 plus 12, but there are few topics which are more important than the others. So focus on those topics. That would be the advice. And for now focus on cat, and then there is 2 months gap or rigorously prepare into in those 2 months for PGDBA.
All right. Okay. All right. That's all we have for today. Thank you, Puneet Vashisht, for all the insights on business analytics. And thank you, all the attendees. We will join you again in the next session. Thank you. Thank
Thank you, Kalan. Bye.